The crowd murmured with restless anticipation, waves of chatter rolling through the auditorium of America's Got Talent. The massive golden logo glowed above the stage, casting beams across faces filled with curiosity and excitement. Somewhere among the cameras and flashing lights, a 15-year-old Filipino boy stood backstage, clutching a silver microphone pendant that shimmered softly under the fluorescence. His fingers trembled around it, the chain pressing into his palm like a reminder of everything he had been through to reach this moment. His name was Rafael. He took a deep breath, listening to the distant echoes of laughter from the crowd. He could almost hear his mother's voice through the noise, the same calm whisper that had carried him through countless sleepless nights. "Anak," she used to say, "don't sing to impress them. Sing to heal them." A stagehand waved him forward. The huge black curtains parted and the lights hit him like sunlight breaking through clouds. He blinked against the glare, suddenly small under the vastness of the stage. In front of him sat Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel. Four faces he had only ever seen through the screen of a borrowed phone back home. Thousands of eyes watched him waiting. Simon leaned forward slightly, studying the boy's white Elvis-style suit trimmed with gold. The sequins caught the light like stars. "Hello there," Simon said, his British accent warm but curious. "What's your name?" "Rafael, sir," he answered, his voice trembling but polite. "And where are you from?" "I'm from the Philippines." The audience cheered instantly at the mention of his country. Rafael smiled nervously, grateful for the support. "What will you be doing for us tonight?" Simon asked. "I'm going to sing Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love." A soft murmur rippled through the crowd. A child attempting Elvis. Some looked skeptical, some intrigued. The track began, the gentle strumming of guitar filling the vast room. Rafael closed his eyes. The first line left his lips and the world stopped breathing. His voice wasn't the squeak of a teenager, it was deep, warm, and soaked in emotion. Every word glided through the air like velvet smoke, carrying the ache of nostalgia. People exchanged glances, jaws slowly dropping. Simon froze, eyebrows lifting in disbelief. Sophia leaned toward Heidi, whispering, "That voice." Rafael sang as if he were living every lyric. Behind his closed eyelids he wasn't on a stage anymore. He was in their old house back in Cebu, a dim room where his father once sat with a broken guitar, teaching him how to mimic the king's deep tone. His father's laughter echoed in memory, fading into the same silence that followed his death years ago. Rafael let that ache become sound. When he hit the chorus, something in the crowd shifted. A wave of emotion moved through them like a tide. Strangers wiped their eyes, cameras panned across faces of disbelief. By the time the final note trembled into stillness, a hush settled over the auditorium. And then, thunder, the crowd erupted, cheers exploded, whistles echoed, and Simon just sat there for a moment, blinking, his expression unreadable. Rafael stood frozen in the golden glow, heart racing, unsure if he should smile or bow. Finally Simon leaned into his microphone. "Rafael, I've heard thousands of singers on this stage, but that," he pointed toward him, "that was something rare. You didn't copy Elvis, you brought him back to life." The audience roared again. Rafael exhaled shakily, his eyes glistening. Backstage his mother pressed a hand to her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. Her son had just turned grief into glory. That night, their hotel room was small but bright. The golden badge on the door read Contestant 78. Rafael sat on the bed with his mother, replaying the performance on a tablet. The comments were already flooding in. Hundreds, then thousands. "His unbelievable. The Filipino Elvis is real." Simon looked like he saw a ghost. He scrawled slowly, smiling through disbelief until one message caught his eye. "You made us proud, son." He froze. The profile picture was blurry, almost familiar. The same image his father once used on social media years ago. A chill ran down his spine. He whispered into the quiet room, "Papa, was that you?" His mother smiled faintly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "He's watching, Anak, he always is." The days that followed were a whirlwind. News outlets picked up his audition, clips went viral across platforms. The boy who sang like Elvis trended for days. In Manila, strangers gathered in cafes replaying his video. Old men with guitars nodded in approval, children tried to imitate his swagger. In one moment the dream of a poor Filipino boy had become the pride of a nation. Weeks later came the judges' cuts. The stakes were higher, the pressure heavier. Backstage, Rafael's hands trembled as he fastened his pendant. Terry Crews stopped beside him, giving a reassuring smile. "You ready, champ?" Rafael nodded. "Yes, sir, for my papa." As he walked onto the stage again, the crowd erupted with cheers. Some held tiny Philippine flags. Simon leaned back, arms crossed, studying him. "All right, Rafael," he said. "You surprised the world once. Let's see if you can do it again." The music began. "If I Can Dream," Elvis's most soulful anthem. The orchestra swelled, and Raphael's voice soared higher than before, raw and thunderous, filled with the weight of his journey. On the screen behind him, images appeared, footage of Elvis performing in black and white, then slowly dissolving into scenes from Raphael's life. His village, his school, his father smiling beside a cracked guitar. The audience was transfixed. Sophia wiped tears silently. Haiti whispered, "He's singing from somewhere beyond music." Even Simon sat still, eyes glistening. When Raphael reached the final line, "Oh, there must be peace and understanding someday," he looked straight up, tears running freely down his cheeks. The last note trembled through the hall like a prayer. Then silence. For one long heartbeat, no one moved. Then Simon Cowell slammed his palm down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti burst from the ceiling in a storm of light. The crowd screamed. Raphael gasped, covering his mouth as he looked upward. The confetti swirled around him like pieces of heaven falling. His mother screamed backstage, rushing out in disbelief. Simon stood and walked to the stage, smiling a rare, soft smile. He placed a hand on Raphael's shoulder and leaned close. "You didn't sing that song," he said quietly, voice breaking just a little. "You lived it." Raphael tried to speak but couldn't. His throat tightened. The confetti clung to his hair, to his white suit, turning him into a living statue of gold. Terry Crews lifted him up as the audience chanted his name. "Rafa!" The camera zoomed in on his tear-streaked face. He looked upward again, whispering through the roar, "Papa, we made it." The episode ended with Simon still standing, clapping slowly, almost reverently. In that moment, it wasn't about a competition anymore. It was about a voice that had crossed oceans and generations, a son keeping a promise to his father, and a country standing prouder because of him. When the lights dimmed and the crowd began to leave, Raphael stayed for a moment on the now empty stage. He knelt, touching a handful of golden confetti still warm from the spotlights. The sound of his heartbeat filled the silence. He smiled, tucking one piece into his pocket as a keepsake. Outside, under the night sky of Los Angeles, the city hummed like a living dream. He walked with his mother toward the waiting van, the pendant glimmering against his chest. "You know, Mama," he said softly, "I think Papa heard me tonight." She squeezed his hand. Of course he did, and everyone did. As they drove away, the AGT sign faded behind them, the city lights twinkling like the confetti still tangled in his hair. Somewhere beyond the clouds, in the quiet places where music never dies, a father's spirit smiled, and for the first time, Raphael felt the whole world listening. And that was the moment Simon pressed the golden buzzer for the Filipino Elvis, the night the world remembered what pure, unfiltered heart sounded like.